All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to move on with our agenda, reconvene in open session per bylaw 9324. This meeting is being recorded and will be broadcasted. 4A, we are adjourning from closed session and reconvening in open session. 4B, Pledge of Allegiance. So if you don't mind standing, we will say our... Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, moving on to agenda item 4C, report from closed session.
Mr. President, there's nothing to report from closed session.
Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 5, public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the Board of Education on matters within the jurisdiction of the board, but not on this agenda, may do so during the public comment period for up to 3 minutes. Each agenda item is limited to 20 minutes, except public comment, unless the time limit is extended by the vote of the Board of Education. Public comments on specific agenda items are heard under that item. 5A, requests for public comment.
Good evening, Dr. Diffenbaugh, President Yoshida, and the MPUSD board. My name is Jada Glazier, and I'm a senior at Seaside High School and the current ASB Communications Officer. But more importantly, I am but one of many first-generation students in this district. I stand before you on behalf of the students at Seaside High who believe that the dedicated teachers, who are the very backbone of our learning environment, are facing an uphill battle due to their current compensation. The consequences of underpaid teachers extend beyond the classroom walls. One of the more alarming consequences is the high turnover rate our school witnesses year after year. The constant rotations of teachers not only disrupts our stability of our classes, but also leads to the distressing presence of long-term substitutes. As a result, our education suffers and impacts our ability to learn and grow effectively. Minority and first-generation students who make up a substantial part of our district bear the brunt of this crisis. The lack of consistent, experienced educators not only diminishes the quality of education we receive, but also limits our access to the crucial mentorship and support we need to thrive academically and socially. Investing in our teachers is investing in our future. By providing fair and competitive compensation, we not only acknowledge the value of their dedication, but also secure a stable, nurturing environment for all students. This is a vital step towards ensuring that every student in the MPUSD school district has access to the quality education that we deserve. I can't possibly think of a better win-win situation. And in order to support these claims, I surveyed over 140 students from various grade levels from Marina, Monterey, and Seaside High. The results are as follows. 79.6% of students surveyed had at least 2 or more long-term substitutes due to the lack of adequate teachers. 70.5% of students surveyed said their education has been impacted negatively by the lack of teachers. 62.8% of students surveyed feel behind in one or more of their A through G classes due to the effects of long-term substitute teachers. 70.8% of students surveyed believe they will not be ready to comprehend and keep up with college-level work with the education they've received. 84.2% of students surveyed believe that higher pay will lead to an increase in teachers available to teach in MPUSD schools and positively impact the quality of education we receive. With that being said, I implore the board to recognize the urgency of this matter and take swift, decisive action. I ask that you rectify this issue for the students who came before me and invested in the futures of the students who will come after me. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Diffenbaugh, President Yoshida, and the MPUSD board. I am Aisha Martinez. I am a junior at Seaside High School. As a student, I want to strive high and be the best I can be, which is which is what I deserve, but a major obstacle standing in my way is the inconsistency in teaching staff. I've had 3 long-term substitutes throughout high school. If teachers got paid more, teachers would be able to have more resources for their classroom, the community would feel safer, the connections between students and teachers would be stronger, and the students would not be struggling as much in classrooms as in previous years when they've had an educational barrier because they had a long-term substitute. As much as I want to be successful, I also feel for teachers as they have to wake up early every morning, stay up late to get grading done, and set up meetings with students. Not only the students, but also our teachers deserve more pay, just like Salinas Unified School District and Carmel Unified School District.
Good evening, Dr. Diffenbaugh, President Uchida, and the MPUSD board. I'm Sheila Martinez, a junior at Seaside High. Many students throughout the MPUSD have felt the need to have consistent teaching staff, and in order to make this happen, teachers need to want to teach, which would mean they need a raise in their pay. Raising teacher pay will raise teachers' commitment and better teaching staff, and this will lead to better testing scores, which will lead to more money for the district. At the moment, Seaside High is at a 3 to 10 test score rating. This is most likely due to the inconsistency in teachers. As a leadership student, we want to see as much school spirit and teacher involvement as possible. But it is difficult when teachers are not getting the pay that they deserve. 37 out of 39 students in just one class have felt they have had a long-term substitute at least once in high school, which is why this is a reoccurring issue that needs to be addressed. As I'm a junior, I'm starting to plan for my future. But how can I do that when I don't feel ready due to the inconsistent teachers and substitutes leaving every day at a Seaside High School? Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Dr. Diffenbaugh, President Uchida, and the MPUSD board. I am Joe Hernandez Islas, the junior class president at Seaside High. One of the amazing responses that we received from our student survey goes as follows. I am afraid that Seaside High School has not prepared me in the education as much as I need. By the time I get into college, I will be so far behind everyone else. There is a huge learning gap. We as students hear it all the time that we are far behind in learning. I've heard it countless times by not only teachers but also family members. It is honestly embarrassing to be learning at such a low grade level in high school. We want to see the change. This is a huge issue in our district, and we want to finally see an effect. So keeping pay as low as it is for teachers has an extremely negative impact on the students. Many of the students at Seaside High are first generation, and all we and all families want is to have an opportunity to go to college and earn a degree because they didn't have the opportunity to. But with our education being very low, it will be very difficult for us to succeed in college level classes. We as first generation students want to succeed and get the opportunities that our families didn't. It feels like we have begun to be given up on. When you give up on us like this, at the end of the day, we're just like another statistic. We should be trying to break the cycle of student dropouts and kids ending up on the streets, but instead the cycle continues. When we have long-term subs consistently who don't know how to teach the class they're put into, it is very difficult to learn. We are expected to do amazing in school, but with our teachers consistently leaving, it gives us absolutely no motivation to even want to try in school. We are supposed to be the future leaders of our community and world. You are not only failing our teachers, but you are also failing our students.
Good evening, Dr. Diffenbaugh and President Uchida and the MPUSD board. I am Angela Scano, a junior at Seaside High School. One of the responses in the student survey says if you have to bring long-term substitutes, please make sure they are competent with the subject. There have been times when I wasn't able to ask a question about the subject because the sub didn't know, and I am afraid that I won't be on the same level as my other peers next year.
The program Edgenuity doesn't help either. Every person is different and my whole class is behind. That system is failing us, and it is not fair that we have a permanent bad grade only because the teacher is gone or the long-term substitute doesn't know anything about the subject they're covering. Another response from students is we deserve a good education, and in order to have a good education, teachers need to want to teach, so they need more pay. Another response is literacy and reading comprehension needs to be taken more seriously in freshman and sophomore year classes. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Diffenbaugh and President Uchida and the MPUSD board. My name is Alina Martinez. I am a junior class representative at Cesar High School. Something I wanted to start off with is saying how having long-term subs affects our learning. I currently have a long-term sub in one of my classes. There are only 2 teachers that teach world history for juniors. One of them is a substitute and one is a teacher. With that being said, I feel like my learning was affected due to the teacher who isn't certified to teach world history, and I think it's unfair how other students get a better education or better way of learning how my class would. With that, other students that have long-term teachers don't get prepared enough when they move on to the next school year. For example, freshmen who have subs aren't going to be ready for their sophomore year and miss a whole year of learning that could have been used better as learning for their subject. Just overall, having a better education with that and having actual teachers that are able to teach us something new and not being behind other students. Through my time in high school, I've noticed the increase of substitutes being needed in schools. I've never had a substitute in middle school, but when I came to high school, I had them once a day. Maybe raising their pays could also give many students a better chance or opportunity for a better education. These are some responses that students had said. We deserve good education. In order to have good education, teachers need to want to teach. Another student said lack of pay is definitely one, if not the biggest reason why teachers quit. Something else that was mentioned was first generation minority students are impacted the hardest. Thank you for listening, and I hope these problems get solved.
Good evening, Dr. Diffenbaugh, President Uchida, and the MPUSD board. I'm Aliyah Scano, a freshman at Seaside High School. Let the teachers help the district. I know multiple teachers who have suggested ideas to the school board, but they just deny what they say. This is a partial reason why my school, Seaside High, has such limited staff. The school board won't hear the teachers out, so they leave and go to a different school who will. I'm sure that the teachers would prefer a school board that listens over a raise. This has further impacted not only this year's students, but also future students as well. The education we get because of the lack of teachers is disappointing. Another student's response is, teachers should be paid more, as it would take more teachers want to come here and teach rather than taking another job, where they do the same thing but get paid more, and it would also give us better education, as there would be a teacher that knows the subject and would teach it better rather than having a long-term sub who wouldn't know that much of what they are teaching. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Diffenbaugh, President Uchida, and the MPUSD board. I am Aiden Iriarty, a sophomore at Seaside High School. One response that was voiced by students is by paying teachers more, it will want them to teach better and better themselves. Plus, we have better energy and attitude towards the events going on in the school because if teachers feel supported, they will support us back. So if we want something, we need to do something to make them feel heard. And another is we need more teachers because there are classes there where we have 35 students and only one teacher, and that one teacher isn't able to help all of us, which leads to students to not try in their class, which leads to bad grades. Another response is these should also be talked about in middle school because in my years at Seaside Middle, a lot of teachers quit having the need to, a lot of teachers quit having the need of long-term subs. Another response is more permanent teachers will increase school testing towards preventing a good, diverse school from shutting down. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Diffenbaugh, President Uchida, and the MPUSD board. I am Vanessa, a sophomore at Seaside High School. One thing a student said in the free responses of this survey is, see how the kids work with the teacher before even considering having a long-term sub. I personally haven't had the best experience with long-term subs, especially since most times there are subs for a reason and can be particularly rude, disrespectful, etc. to the students. Currently, I recommend having a written paragraph from the students after a week or so of having the possible long-term sub there to make sure they are at least fit to teach and won't give the school a bad reputation with the way they treat students. Students are just as important as the teachers, and having limited teachers is a pain. However, it is much preferred than having students feel unsafe, respected, or anything of the sort. Thank you.
Hello. That was interesting there. Applaud all these kids for coming up here and I don't want to take away from anything that they had to say up here because they very intelligent group of kids. Obviously, they're getting educated decently somehow here, but we got to remember what this room is about. They have no decision-making power. As much as you up here want to believe the children have complete control, it's us parents. I would really love to see their parents up here have a word to say to you about the substitute teachers going on in this district. I'm about to be a parent of a sixth child. I'm vested in our schools here. And when I hear of certain substitute situations going on when it comes to counseling in our schools and speaking to our children without the parental consent, I get frustrated. And I start to have thoughts about people that are in control of it up here. And we have a potential situation with a counselor at one of your schools. It's talking to young children, very young children, profiling these children and documenting their families without the family's consent. And it makes me sick. And I think that all of you need to take a look at some things that are going on here. The particular counselor at J.C. Crumpton that's been pulling these young children out, profiling these kids, profiling their families, abusing these children, utilizing tactics that you use for high school kids that have a little bit more of a filter and the ability to filter and comprehend what's being asked of them. And I just ask you here, as a resident of Monterey County that cares so much about our kids and our education. Our family has been in education in this state longer than anybody in the history of this state. I understand education. The substitute teacher thing's a big issue, but it's also an issue when you're utilizing some of these expired documentations, people that are not credited or educated to be doing counseling services, talking to 4-year-old little girls. Hopefully I don't have to come back and see you all again about this. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Karina Powers. I'm resident of Monterey County and founder of Latinos for Medical Freedom. It recently has been brought to my attention that a 4-year-old in J.C. Crumpton Elementary School in Marina was being pulled out of her classroom or during recess on 6 occasions to question her inappropriately by Ms. Sanika Sathi, who is a family service specialist for the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District. All done without parental consent or without any notification of such interviews ever happening to the parents. From my understanding, Ms. Sathi does not possess the appropriate credentials or licensing to be questioning any child whatsoever. When the parent made the discovery of such interviews, she was bullied and coerced into believing that she had previously authorized such interviews, when indeed she had not. It is of deep concern to our organization, as Ms. Sathi said, that she is currently seeing hundreds of students without parental consent or without any notification. And as a mandated reporter, this could be detrimentally traumatizing to any family in our community. It is essential to recognize that parents are being kept in the dark when it comes to the public school education and an understanding how school districts operate in protecting their own instead of their children, My message is to parents. I urge you to be involved in your children's education, and there are organizations here protecting parents in your local districts. Thank you.
Can I make one announcement? Please identify yourself before you speak. I think
No, it's a request.
Yeah, just a request.
You're making a record. Good evening, folks. My name is Tracy Henderson. I'm a mom. I'm a licensed California attorney, and I'm the founder of California Parents Union. You can think of us as the antidote to the teachers' unions. And I'm here before you for a few reasons. Number one, to put MPUSD on notice of potential liability, and number two, to bring awareness to the community of what J.C. Crumpton is trying to hide. It has also come to my attention that Sanika Sathe, who works for J.C. Crumpton as a family services specialist, has violated the law. Ms. Sathi is pulling students out of class at J.C. Crumpton to bring them into her office to ask them inappropriate, private questions about their family members. And I'm informed and believe that she did this to a 4-year-old without parental permission and some 99 other children, and she admittedly did it without parental permission to those other children. In fact, my understanding was that she asked these particular 4-year-olds' parents if she had permission. They said no, and she did it anyways. She proceeded to drag this little 4-year-old into her office 6 times. When the parents brought this lack of permission issue to the school, they lied about it. The superintendent, the HR department, the principal, even her teacher lied about it. They tried to say she signed a form she never signed. This is the most serious invasion of a parental right that I've ever seen. And even worse, it's a breach of trust of a parent who brought her child to your school district to trust you with her. You know, the tragedy for me of this particular situation is this little 4-year-old was excited to come to school, and now she's nothing short of traumatized, and who knows if she's ever coming back to school. In the beginning of her school career, she was traumatized by J.C. Crumpton and this woman. Now, what is this Miss Sathi doing? The legal issue that I see is Miss Sathi is not properly licensed. She does not have a teacher credential. Her preliminary credential expired. She never got a cleared credential. She's running around with a 30-day substitute credential. And in order to be a school counselor, which is the capacity she's acting in, you need a pupil personnel services credential, and she doesn't have it. Instead, she's a family services specialist doing God knows what to 99 or 100 children. California Health and Safety Code 124260 says it's mandatory that any mental health services include the parents. And if you're 12 or older and they think you can consent, great, maybe you can see a mental health service, but she was 4 years old. So I ask you again, what is this woman doing? What are you doing here in your district? Our California Supreme Court is very clear that the parents have the rights to control the upbringing of their children, and no woman should be dragging a 4-year-old into a room with a closed door 6 times to ask them what their parents drink or eat or whether she bathes. I am demanding, please, investigate and terminate this woman. Thank you very much for listening.
Good evening, board, cabinet, Dr. Diffenbaugh. Excuse me, my name is Erin Bannock. I am the CSEA chapter president for Monterey J.C. Crumpton, and I'm also a behavior technician from Marina High School. I came in for a purpose, but I first want to applaud our scholars for organizing and standing up for themselves, because you guys, you are 1,000,000% right, and I'm so proud of you standing up today. This is what you need to do. and I'm so proud of you. With that said, I am highly concerned with the concerted effort that is coming from an outside group of people who do not have children at this school district and who are attacking our employees. They have put one of our employees that they have spoke of personal information with their picture on the internet. With information, they talk about protecting people, but they are also bullying. And to come into our district with no information and not knowing how we do things, they are trying to disrupt us, and they do it in other districts as well. So I want to just make sure that Sanka is an upstanding, beloved employee of this district. She has been for years. She has never had an issue until this family and this group of parents decided to come up against her for whatever reason. I want you to take that into account when they're asking for an investigation and asking for her to be terminated, because that's not how we do things at MPUSD. We have built a culture and we have built safety for our students. We work on mental health, and that's something that this board and this district has worked very hard to do. So these people who are coming from outside to attack our employees, I'm not okay with that. So that's why I'm here to support our employee and my member who I know is doing her job correctly. So thank you for the time to listen to everybody's voices, but please know that this is an effort to smear somebody. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ken Hamilton, Chief Union Steward for Chapter 93. I'm retired. After 32 years, I'm a former employee of MPUSD. I also graduated as a student, came up through the ranks. I just want to say that I'm really appreciative of the individuals, employees who, when I didn't know I needed, came out and talked to me. They may not have been credentialed, but they were caring. That's the best I can say. They were caring. They cared about my welfare. They talked to me about things that may have been going on that I wouldn't have said to a counselor, to a teacher, to a principal. And I've had the opportunity to do that myself. I worked as a head custodian at an elementary school, and there were times when students would come, or I'd have a student sent to me. We'd walk, we'd talk. I found out good things, found out hurtful things, found out things about them that, as an employee I had to report, but I had the backing from the principal. I think I had the backing from the board at the time, whether you knew about it or not. And, being in that position, I was also a respected employee, going above and beyond to take care of our kids. So, thank you.
Okay, I don't see anybody else coming to the microphone. I will now open it up into Zoom land. If anybody, go ahead.
My name is John Hernandez. I'm the father of 2 girls, and I'm a licensed applicator in the state of California. And I think it is very unnecessary that you guys have no type of certification for children in terms of supervision when it comes to counseling and things of that nature. Certification is very important in the state of California. It's actually law, and that's something that's required before I enter anybody's home, because I'm licensed as well. When somebody asks me for my license before the start of any appointment, I'm proud to give them my license number and to give them my identification so they feel comfortable with me in their home performing a professional task. Besides that, I truly think you guys should look into your certifications and make sure that they're not expired the same way my company does, because that's very important. Thank you.
Okay. Again, last opportunity here to come to the microphone. Open it up to Zoom. If anybody raises their hand, they will be recognized. All right. All right, seeing none, we will move on to agenda item. Pardon me.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. It's on. Hi. Hi. My name is Sebastian Sloan, Adonis Sebastian Adonis Sloan. I go to Monterey High School. I'm a junior. I was here tonight for one reason, but now I'm made aware of another, and I apologize to anyone affected by whatever drama is going on at J.C. Crumpton. I hope that this issue can be resolved, that the truth will come to light, and I think that it is of you guys on this board to make sure that happens and that makes sure the children and the parents find justice. So I want to say that. The other reason I'm here is because there are rumors going around about the new schedule change, about the budget cuts. Rumors, of course. I'm not so sure what is confirmed and what is not. But the main thing I want to advocate for is the arts and the importance of it. I come from AMP, Arts, Media, Performance. One of the 3 academies we have at Monterey High School, along with MAOS and SPARK. I would give you the acronym, but I'm actually not too sure what that stands for. Monterey Academy, Oceanography, Science, and then SPARK is Sports. Yeah, something like that. My bad, Miriam. But yeah, I am an artist. I love the arts. I do theater in particular. We're actually doing a show right now, Cyrano. Come see it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm not advertising it though, but you know. But arts is something that we as students love, and it's our passion, it's our life, and it's really one of the reasons why we go to Monterey High School in the first place. It's the reason me and my brother Solomon moved here, because of the AMP Academy, because of its great reputation, and because of the reputation of this county. If AMP and all the other academies are to be cut, if they are to be removed, you're not only going to find a shortage of students who are going to not want to go to any school in this county in the first place, but also you're going to find a lack of participation, a lack of energy, a lack of people wanting to go to school, you know? It's important to have our main subjects, our math, our science, our physical education, our history, but at the end of the day, people have passions, people have imagination, people have talent that they want to produce, that they want to show to others. And people who have experienced trauma in the past can often go to arts as a support. I myself at arts and theater has always been sort of the friend at the end of the day I can always depend on, because it always brings light into my life, and I know for sure it brings light into others. And it brings positivity, and it brings a unification of students. We are unified more because of our academies. We make friends, we make lifelong friendships and relationships because of our shared passions and our shared skills. So I know there's money, I know there's economy and politics and all that jazz, but if you cut arts, you're going to cut talent, you're going to cut our future, and you're going to cut the possibility of change in this generation. So thank you very much.
All righty. Okay. Again, last call before I go out to Zoom. Or actually, we've already reached out to Zoom. If I don't see anybody else, we are now going to move on to agenda item 6, public agency communications. This is a time specifically set aside for representatives of public agencies to make brief comments of general interest to the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District and community. Requests for public agency communications. Dr. Diffenbach.
There's been no request, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Moving on to 7, presentations, recognitions, military liaison, upcoming events. 7A, receive update on impact of MPUSD teacher residency program. Dr. Diffenbach.
All right, thank you. This is coming to you as a response to a board request, and give an update as we do annually for our teacher residency program. So I will invite Sarah Hudson, and I do believe they have some residents here as well, to give you an overview of the impact of the residency program and take your questions.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, Dr. Diffenbaugh and Board President Uchida and MPUSD Board and Cabinet. I'm so excited to be here tonight with you all and give you some updates to our Alder. I do have some current and past alumni of Alder. If you could please stand and be recognized. Woo-hoo. I just really want to give a huge shout out to all of our residents, current residents, past residents, who really align their mission and vision with Alder as well as MPUSDs to really have an impact on our future educators and students and just bring the joy to teaching. So I'm really excited that they are here, and I'm going to share some data with you and then open up for any questions you may have. So in your handout as well, oh, I have a clicker. Thanks, Isai. So much easier. I'm like, go ahead. So our why together, just this first picture is us graduating at Cal State East Bay last year. And the why we do this together is really to ensure excellent teachers for all of our students. And during their residency year, but totally beyond, keep engaging our students in their learning to ensure the diverse teacher workforce. So that is something we are working towards, making sure our community matches our students and our teachers. So we are consistently trying to recruit and retain students that exemplify our student population. We really want to build a talent pool for future teachers as well. We really want to improve that retention so they are staying within MPUSD for years and years to come through that growth ladder, that career ladder that they have opportunities for. So I'm going to get into just some data over our last 5 years together. So the first goal was just excellent teachers. So this is some data that we pulled together at the end of our 5 years, and I will have more information coming out next year, of course. But the graduates are more effective teachers after teaching for just 1 year and are more effective than their peers during that first year as well. So the effectiveness score shows you that these are the percentage of residents after their first 3 months of teaching in our schools with our students. How would you rate them as highly effective or effective? So we had 100%. We took a little dip there after the pandemic, and we shot right back up to 100%. So we're excited to continue that trend. The second goal was diverse teachers and diversifying our workforce. So resident diversity is similar to our MPUSD K-12 student community at this point. In the first column, the data pulled at this point was 77.9% of our student population, 70 were white, as our hired residents were 22.2. To the next one, residents that identified as Hispanic or Latino, our student population, and then the hired residents is 61.1. Again, Black or African American, 5.6. 2 or more races, 11.1. And then from there, we also have Asian, and we are recruiting and have some currently as well. Just growing our talent pool. Obviously, from tonight, we have subs, and we're working really hard to create this pipeline where we can pull from our own with content-rich, rigorous, effective first instruction for our residents. We posted in the newspaper, and big shout out to Marcy and the communications department for really putting it out there in all of our communities. For the 23-24 cohort, we saw 23 of them, saw the job posting online, and then also there's an increase in the number of referrals by past alumni or current MPUSD employees that have seen the impact of the residents' work. So retention is our fourth goal. So Alder did some internal research, and it shows that Alder-trained teachers of color have higher 1-year retention rates than non-Alder counterparts. So the big takeaway from this data is that not only do Alder-trained teachers of color have higher retention rates, but their retention rates have also increased slowly throughout time, and we hope to really continue that diversified workforce. And also, Alder found that they did not observe this increase in any other groups, including non-Alder trained teachers of color or white teachers. There's a table on the very last slide if you would like to look at the data that was pulled for that report. The career ladder, so now we have them in our system, and how are we going to continue to push their growth and be the best that they can be within MPUSD? So this chart shows you some survey questions that were asked of mentors, not the residents, and having a mentor and a resident in the room has been positive for my students this year. Of course, there's only strongly agree with that. Mentors over time through this program have really utilized, like, this isn't a teacher's aide, this is a co-teacher in your classroom, and how can we tap into their expertise and the teaching strategies and the rigorous content that they need to help push our students to meet standards on whatever progress that means for them individually. The other growth area of agree and strongly agree is being a mentor has helped me grow in my own practice as an educator. So mentors within this program also have an opportunity to relearn and mentor residents through this process. They're like, oh yeah, this is really good. I'm going to start doing this again every day. And I'm like, great, let's do that. So they've also really appreciated the seminars that I have as well. And then continuing as an educator, being a mentor has made it more likely I will continue working in my partner organization with the state of education. We did have some disagrees and strongly disagrees in there, but as we continue to support through the program, that's our data right now. And what are we doing with all this data? So based on this data, we are going to continue our efforts to really deepen the impact of our residency program as a key change package to address the retention and recruitment challenges we are currently facing in MPUSD. Last night, we had a community event and recruitment event in Seaside at Soper Park. Dr. Diffenbaugh was able to join us, as well as Seaside councilwoman. So they got to hear the outline of our program, what we do for our residents, the affordability and support that they have, as well as the gradual release of responsibilities within our classrooms. Another new program this year that I've been implementing is also networking and support opportunities. So we focus a lot on the sense of belonging within our schools and our communities, but I also wanted to make sure that we had those same opportunities for our teachers and educators. So every month, once a month, I've been doing a switch between online, Zoom, and in-person meetings for any new teacher or early career teacher academy within MPUSD, as well as current residents. So they have those opportunities to network and be like, I don't understand this, can you help me? And then they get to find out, like, oh, I do know that, right? So they're able to contribute to the success of others and really lift each other up throughout this program. So as I continue this through the different months, I have seen an increase. I'm also able to call on communications department, curriculum and instruction. I really let the residents and new teachers within our district lead the focus for those meetings, so I can truly support them in whatever they may need. And that's been great. The turnout's been increasing, so I'm going to continue that. And the research, Alder was awarded a renewal award to share our co-teaching model with other residencies. MPUSD specifically in our program, I've been in connection with the Learning Policy Institute to highlight our work and our residency program for throughout the state. So I'm going to continue to do that work. An update on our grant funding. I had recently worked on an updated financial report, applied for additional funds, and we just found out like 2 weeks ago that we were just awarded $920,000. So that is going to go directly to residents' living stipend increases. So this year they currently we started at $15,000, as you may remember when we started this program, and we've continued to grow the program. We're at $37K this year, and then also starting next year, possibly this year, sorry, residents, we'll talk. About $45,000 will be their living stipend. Through that grant funding, we were also able to increase the mentor stipends that are working every day with our residents from $2,000 to $5,000. So increased rigor, increased engagement through the rigorous process, understanding the whole child, and really addressing to get to know our students and what they need, so we can really plan those rigorous learning activities, engaging, fun things that we get to do in school. And if you wanted to know any of our past residents, I've included all of their bios here. So all the way from cohort 1, you're welcome. Stephen too. So we're really excited. I'm very excited that some of our original first class of Alder residents now get to be mentors. So they truly have walked the walk in those shoes and understand and can support on a completely different level, having gone through this very intense program. And this is the table. So I really want to thank you all for the time and the opportunity that we have to bring this partnership to MPUSD. I only continue to see it growing. And as always, my seminars every Thursday. I have had some board members drop into my seminars before, and I welcome any of you to stop by room 22 at the district office for either a resident seminar or a mentor seminar. I would love to have you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Hudson,
Yes.
question, comments from board
Absolutely.
members?
I'm here.
Trustee Velasquez.
It's more just a comment, not a question. I am one of those board members that has dropped by with muffins.
Thank you.
And I want to say that I really did enjoy the seminar that day, spending time with the alders, seeing how they're learning, seeing the diversity in the class, and I think it's a great program. So you're doing a really good job.
Thank you. Come anytime with muffins.
All right. Any other questions, comments from board members? Dr. Whitmire.
Just a quick question. Thank you so much for giving us the update. This is such a wonderful program. I'm so glad that we continue to do it and that you've been successful in getting more funding so we can increase the stipends. It's so important. It's so hard to live here. I know we offer stipends or extra incentives for residents who want to go into hard to staff positions like math and science and so on. I just want to get a sense of if you're finding that that's successful in getting more teachers into those pathways and those hard to fill positions, or if there's other approaches we might be taking to sort of try and fill these gaps that we have in the district.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. What I found throughout the years is we never know what kind of pathway we're going to be in need of. And this year, I've actually have more secondary residents than multiple subject residents. And they are predominantly math, ELA. We have a couple of science this year as well, which we had none. And we also have residents this year at the middle school. So we have residents in all 3 levels within our system. So we are going to continue. Another thing, as you know, the board does is help really provide support with the hard to fill outside. So like adaptive PE and really talking about that extra certification. And I also do that through the pipelines of all the different new teachers that I interact with. And I'm always like, yes, let's do a B-clad. Oh, you can add this for it, because it really does allow more impact in areas for them to reach the students. And it's great to have different experiences as well.
And just to add on, we do offer the tuition reimbursement for those hard to staff position, so it does help offset some of the costs of the tuition for the program.
Yep. We offer $10,000 reimbursement.
When we were talking about money, I noticed the students' eyes were lighting up, so that's always a good thing. So just commenting on that. So, and Ms. Hudson, when you were hired into this position, I knew you were the right person. So continued success to your students and future teachers and future employees of this district. Keep working hard, and it's worth it. It's something to do. So we look forward to it, and with these enthusiastic smiles and confidence, that's great to see. We encourage it, and you do have a great leader in Ms. Hudson, so you are fortunate. So thank you so much. Any other questions? Trustee Miramontes.
Thank you. Yeah, of course, just thank you so much of this opportunity within the district and with what you're doing to provide a growth in teachers, especially for our teachers of color. And I guess my question would be just the engagement in regarding to our community, and how do we do that to really focus and target our communities of color? And then maybe a suggestion, if it's not already happening, uplifting our teachers already in the district of color to come and speak and engage with these communities, and maybe even teachers outside of the district that are very just doing amazing stuff across the state, and having them come and maybe tour through our community, whatever it is, but really just seeing how we can do a bigger impact on that, and if you have anything in mind or what you guys have already been doing.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So going to the places, right, to get the retention and having people show up sometimes could be difficult, but we have to take that first step. And word of mouth really works within our community and the impact that it has. So once you have one event and they're like, oh yeah, I learned so much. I got some food, I got to interact, and I had questions answered. My plan, my next steps at this point is to start reaching out to organizations that we work with. So, for example, I have Timothy Dunn is one of my current residents. His mother is Rosalind Green, so really thinking about the Black Caucus and working with her about more strategic, intentional recruitment efforts. And what I'm finding is when they don't necessarily come to me, I have to go to them. So that is definitely my next step. I'm already working on a round of some meetings that I could pop into. I also do that for our own internal candidates, for our accelerated learning specialists, our paras, our BTs. They are showing up as well. So my plan is to continue the community events, since that's new this year, but then intentionally and strategically make connections throughout that community and go to them and make sure I get it on their agendas as well. So if you have any connections, put me on an agenda. Sign me up.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Bring it out to anybody in attendance here. Please come forward.
Hi. My name is Steven Pena. I'm actually one of Alder's Cohort 1, and I wasn't planning to speak today in any way, but I just want to say that Sarah was actually one of my professors that I had in that Cohort 1, and made one of the strongest connections with us in MPUSD for the Alder residency, because she was from MPUSD, and some of the residents were at her school when she was at Crumpton, and I just have such a strong memory of her being such a fantastic professor. And so I love that Christy was amazing, and she did so much for me and my cohort, but I love that this program is in good hands because it means so much to me. Alder really shaped who I am as a teacher. I had the best mentor teacher in the entire world. I'll stand by it forever. And I just, I can't thank Alder enough. And I think that it's incredible that we've done the work that we're doing to give those living stipends, because my Cohort 1 did not have that. And I'm a little bit jealous, but continue to support Alder. It makes a huge difference. I know the new coworkers that I have at Monterey High School now, the ones that have come out of Alder, are so strong, and they are ready to teach, and they are passionate about our students. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Anybody else in attendance wishing to make a comment? We do have someone online, raised hand. Carla Lobo, go ahead.
Thank you. I've always been a proponent of this program. I think it's wonderful. A couple of questions that I have within the program. I know that there is a set limited amount of individuals that can be part of the program. And within that, is that going to be expanded in the near future? And how many EL credential teachers are we seeing coming down the pipeline when we're talking about English learners? Are we seeing any credentials within that scope and special education, knowing that we foster a lot of individuals within that demographic? And are we seeing that come down the pipeline, and what are we actively doing to search for those out? Because we do have a need. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you so much for the question. No, go ahead.
Sure, I can just briefly. So our cohort size has been around 20, but we have more than those openings per year. So if we definitely could grow if we had enough qualified candidates. And I think Alder would support that as well. We'd have to, change the program a little bit in terms of support for Sarah, but we're certainly interested in growing. Alder currently does not have a BCLAD program, so bilingual authorization, but they are in the process of getting approved by the state for BCLAD authorization. So once they do that, we will be able to have BCLAD applicants, which are desperately needed. But since we do have the Dual Language Academy, we would have places to place them as well. And then third question, special ed. We do have a number of our residents, thankfully, are seeking special ed credentials. We've had in our cohort every year, we've had, sometimes bigger than others, but we've had special ed credentials every year, and we do this year as well.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, that was very spot on. Thank you, Dr. Diffenbaugh.
All right. Again, anybody else in Zoom wishing to ask a question, raise your hand. All right. Seeing no hands raised there. Thank you very much. Continued success to the cohort. Wish you come back next year and give us all your stories of success. So keep up the good work. Your efforts are noted and appreciated. So thank you so much. All right, moving on to 7B, upcoming events. Dr. Diffenbaugh.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. These, many of these events you have seen before, but just going to bring them up to top of mind. One is that this week for our elementary, TK8, and middle schoolers, it's early release for parent conferences in order to help facilitate partnership with parents and direct communication. So if you are a parent at one of these schools and you have not signed up for your conference, please do contact your school's teacher to make sure that we are able to have a parent conference with you. The upcoming this Friday is the dedication of the district office in honor of longtime superintendent Dr. James C. Harrison. So you're all invited for that. We have a backup plan if it rains. So rain or shine, this will happen. And we're looking forward to honoring a longtime community hero in Dr. Harrison. We have upcoming parent workshops, so please look at that. The 15th is tonight, I think. And so please look in the January and March to make sure that you mark your calendars for these online workshops that have been very well received by those who've been in attendance. And then highlighting the District English Language Advisory Committee happening at the Dual Language Academy, and our next meeting is January 17th. We had a great turnout for the first one and would like to continue to grow. and we'll be discussing the local control accountability plan and school plans. There's free dinner, free childcare, so we really want to remove barriers for individuals so that they come and be able to give us input and help shape the direction of our schools. So that's at the Dual Language Academy. So those are my events upcoming for this week. I do want to also, late event in is this Friday. We'll send an invite, but the Special Olympics is having their basketball, annual basketball games at Seaside High School. So we will definitely send that out to board members so that you can come if your schedule permits.
Thank you, Dr. Diffenbaugh. All right, moving on to agenda item 8, consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and are acted on by the Board of Education in one motion. There is no discussion of these items before the board vote unless a member of the board, staff, or public requests specific items be discussed and or removed from the consent agenda. It is understood that the administration recommends the approval of all consent items. Each item on the consent agenda approved by the members of the governing board shall be deemed to have been considered in full and adopted as recommended. 8A, oh, actually, now, what am I doing? Never mind, pardon me. I don't know why I knew that. All right, questions, discussions from the board? All right, question, Trustee Vasquez?
Yes, it was in regards to item J, if that one could possibly be pulled and discussed, just because I was approached by a parent regarding that in regards to basically maybe not being able to provide that for their child, and so if we could maybe agendize that item to where we can discuss that for parents. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments regarding that in supporting that then? So do we need a motion to, okay. I see people's heads nodding, so.
Why don't we take it out to the public first? If there's
Okay.
any more consent agenda, and then we can pull it back.
Okay, all right, is that okay with you, Trustee Vasquez? All right, so then I will, thank you. I'll bring it out to the public for consent agenda items. All right, seeing none, bring it out to Zoom for any considerations.
No hands.
No hands, thank you. Okay, bring it back now to the board then for a motion.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda with item J being removed.
I'll second.
All right, questions or discussions about removing item J? All right, bring it back to the board for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. So then we bring it then, okay, yes. So, yes. So I guess, Dr. Diffenbaugh, we would have a discussion then about agenda item J?
Yeah, so are you, I think the board is suggesting bring it back at a future board meeting for discussion? Or do you want to discuss currently?
Well, being the new board member, my assumption was actually at a later meeting so that parents would have time, but just because,
May I make
like
that-
I said, the question I got was the affordability factor that some parents might not be able to afford providing the wipes and the diapers on a consistent basis, while also having them at home. So
Basically clarifying the position of,
We could, if it's okay with the board, we'll come back, allow us to do a little bit of research on this to make sure that we understand, or you're ready? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. President, I'd just like to ask I'd like to get ask a clarifying question. Specifically, what are parents asking as it relates to Jay? I'm kind of familiar, but I don't want to know definitely what you're being asked.
In regards to the affordability factor of having to provide that and not having, because for some parents, not having to provide that, having that provided at the site actually helps them as a cost savings, because it's like I'm only having to purchase it for home. So now having to also provide a supply for school, it's an additional cost. And it might seem like a minimal cost, but to some parents, that minimal amount does actually impact their finances, so.
Yes.
And I truly thank you for bringing this to our attention, because you're right. For some parents, I mean.
It's kind of like the way like free
and
lunch and free
grandparents-
breakfast works.
And grandparents, you
Yeah.
know, $50 is a lot to pay for diapers. So, yes, I do hear and understand what parents are needing to hear. Okay.
Okay, so this is actually a recommendation that comes from the California Department of Social Services, and it's actually a program requirement that they identify that gets approved, and it's an annual process for based on their parent advisory committee as well as our just general Board of Trustees. We can provide if families do not have. So if they are not able to bring it in, we do have opportunities to provide it. It's just a recommendation that we have to go through the process to provide based on their contract, which is attached, that identifies all of the requirements that we have to provide infant care. We can have Tia come back and talk about what our processes are, particularly for families that are enrolled in our programs that have additional above and beyond needs, and how we make sure that they get access to the basic needs that they have as they're enrolled in our program, if that would be helpful as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we can bring it back and we can provide an overview about this process, what they recommend for us, and then how we support our infants and our toddlers in our programs, if that would be a helpful process.
Dr. Les.
I would really support bringing it back because it would be helpful for parents to fully understand how this is impacting their budgets and what have you. So I support you, Trustee.
And they're enrolled in our infant, and unless it's the employee, if it's the state program, which we have our slots, those either the families are attending at a very affordable rate or free, depending on their income. So there's pieces that we provide as well that's based on the state.
I support too bringing it back, just for the clarity for the information to get out to our families.
And just to let them know that there is assistance if that is an issue for them. But that was the thing, it's like, what, now I have to bring diapers and wipes, you know?
Sure.
And it's like, well, maybe there should be further discussion and clarification on it.
Thank you. That's why we have this ability to pull things and discuss it. So thank you for doing that. All right, I see a hand raised. I don't see anybody in attendance. Any other questions? I do see a hand raised. Ms. Lobo.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad that this got pulled, specifically because the transparency between the Children's Center and parents is not a streamlined communication. When we talk about taking down information with regards to state-funded allocations of spots versus those that are paying full price, if we begin to utilize these recommendations, we then start targeting families that are state-funded, and then it becomes a way of knowing who has a spot that is either fully state-funded or partially state-funded. So providing diapers and wipes is essential. It's an essential part of caring for infant children. Just a diaper, a box of diapers of 23 Target brand is going to run you anywhere between $32 to $55, depending on the size. And that's just for one child. We're not talking about if you have multiple or if you're in the middle of potty training, which also is another budgetary item that we also have to take in place. Now, again, these are recommendations. We do not have to take these recommendations. It is process that they come and ask the board, but the board can decide to offer this as a part of allowing or having individuals be part of the infant program without having a tie individual say, okay, well, you know that I get fully funded for this program or partially funded. I also need additional help with diapers. As we know, inflation is real and prices are going up. So aside from diapers and wipes, that you have to change every 2 to 3 hours depending on the age. So you're going through about 10 to 15 diapers a day just in daycare, not even taking into account when you get home. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom? All right. Seeing none, we will move on. Agenda item 9, conference discussion action. 9A, discuss and approve report on the use of developer fees for 2022-23 and the approved resolution number 24/10 on use of developer fees for 2022-2023. Dr. Diffenbach.
Yes, thank you. I'll turn this over to Mr. Altemeyer.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. So each year, as part of the process for us collecting developer fees as a district, we have to review an annual report and then certify a resolution saying that we collected developer fees in line with and spent them in line with how they were supposed to be spent. I'll have the clicker here, all right. So each year, we do assess developer fees. As new construction happens or there's modernization or modification to existing construction, we do charge fees. And so there are two different fees that we charge, $4.79 for residential and 0.78 cents per square foot, or 78 cents per square foot for commercial. And then these amounts are determined by the state, and they're not assigned by the school district, but they're assigned by the state, and then we justify charging those fees annually with a developer fee justification analysis. And then the methodology for that is to maximize the fees that are established by state law and the state allocation board. The funds that we do collect for developer fees are accounted for in a separate fund. That's Fund 25, so that's just dedicated to the collection and expenditure of developer fees. And then the government code section 66001D and 66006B requires what we're doing this evening, the annual audit and review of the developer fees utilized by the district. And then the law also requires that the annual account to be completed and made available to the public no later than December 26th. So just to review, kind of a high-level overview of the developer fee fund. We started last year, and this is a look back, so this is looking back at last fiscal year. We began July 1st of 2022 with about $7.2 million in developer fees. Throughout last year, we collected about $2.2 million in developer fees. We didn't refund any. From time to time, if there are permits that are provided, they pay developer fees. If the party later withdraws those permits, we do refund fees, but we didn't do anything like that last year. We earned about $150,000 in interest, and then in 22-23, we spent about $935,000 in developer fees. There is an itemized expenditure list attached to the agenda item, but overall, those were spent on things like mostly portables for various school sites, Dual Language Academy, Crumpton, Monte Vista, Olson, and Marina High School. There's a fair market value adjustment. I won't get too much into detail with that, but that's just an accounting practice that we have to do that's described by our auditors when they review these funds. And then our ending balance as of the end of last year, June 30th, 2023, we ended the year about $5.6 million in Fund 25 for developer fees. And that's the overall report. So this evening in front of you is the review of the expenditures for the Fund 25 for the developer fees, and also the attached resolution that outlines that those fees were spent in accordance with the law.
Questions, discussions? Trustee Velasquez?
And I apologize because I think this was actually, we did this on my very first board meeting last year, and I apologize for not retaining the information. I promise I'm going to take notes on the answer this time. But My question is, why is there a difference between the residential fee for square footage and commercial?
That's an excellent question. So developer fees, we assess those because of the impact that development has on the school district. So residential has a larger impact. It's the rationale is residential brings in children, which then will come to our schools, which will have impact on our facilities. That's why that amount is higher. Commercial has a smaller impact. The thought process there is that commercial will potentially bring in jobs, attracting people to the area, but it's a much smaller impact, and that's why there's a difference between those two fees.
Thank you.
Trustee Whitmire?
Thanks for the update, Mr. Altemeyer. The first thing that struck me when I reviewed the slides was that we've built up a nice little nest egg of developer fees, and I wondered if we're targeting something with those funds, given the developments in Seaside and Marina. Is there something we have coming down the pipeline that we're thinking about, or is this still just building for future use?
No, that's another great question. So this will be allocated as far as some of the expansion that is happening in the Marina and Seaside communities. So some of the projects that you'll see even this year will have some expenses associated with those projects that will come out of developer fees.
I got a question. In regards to sort of that, but ending balances, is there a recommendation from the state or law that says it has to be spent by a certain time, or so you can bankroll it for?
Yeah, I mean when we look at the annual justification report, that's one thing that the independent organization looks at is they assess, are we justified in collecting those fees, and do we have a use for those fees, and is there an impact? So that's something that they look at. As long as we have a justification for collecting those fees, we could bank those into the fund. Now, with that being said, it is best practice to have some sort of expense associated with that, which we do. You see the modernizations that are happening across the district. A lot of that is expansion in some of the areas where we do have some increase in enrollment, and that's where we plan to spend these funds.
Any other questions from the board? All right, seeing none, any questions in our audience in attendance? All right, I changed my page, watching Zoom. All right, seeing no hands, I'll bring it back then to the board for a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to move approval.
I'll second.
A motion by Dr. Less, seconded by Trustee Velasquez. Last chance for questions, comments before we vote. Bring it back to the board for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 9B, discuss ratify amendments with Progress West Incorporated for the multi-use field project at Marina High School. Measure I bond credit of $726,095. Mr. Altemeyer.
Thank you. So on April 11th, the board did approve this contract originally. And this is just for the material, some of the materials related to the Marina High multi-use field. This is primarily the track and the field itself. As we progress through that project, as oftentimes projects do, there are cost escalations, and so we had to make sure that we stay within the allocated budget. So this is an actual revision to the original contract that is reducing the total cost of that by about $726,000. And that's really with the reduced scope of track and changing of some different materials. And like I said, it's an overall reduction of the contract by about $726,000.
Okay, questions, comments from the board? Trustee Porter.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, what is going to be on the field, and also like where is this going to be? I'm also like in very favor of this, so.
Yeah, the field, if you're familiar with Marina High, there's a kind of an existing parking lot where the students park, and there's a baseball field there now, or a field there now. So to be generally in that area is where the field would be, and it would be a multi-use field, so it could be soccer, baseball, football.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Dr. Whitmire.
I was just curious, I love saving money, but I wondered if, I mean, it's very unusual to get have a project reduced. And so is it just happenstance that we reduced the scope enough that we're now saving ourselves money? Is there something that we could add back to keep it the same budget that we had before? This is just a very unusual situation, so a little more context would be great.
Sure, it is, and the reason why this is a little bit different is because in this case, typically we'll bring an entire project to you up front, we'll take that out to bid, or it may come in smaller components, but typically we're not procuring materials or a certain part of the project before we actually engage in the full project. This was an agreement with this particular company for a particular type of field. This was AstroTurf and some of the track around that. So we did that early on in the process based on what we had anticipated. But as other parts of the project went along, there were cost escalations. So we had to go back and revisit various aspects of it. So this is one area when we went back and revisited, and that's why you see the reduction in the costs.
I see. So we're reducing in scope for this aspect of the project because other parts of the project have become more expensive.
Correct.
I
That's
see. Thank
correct.
you.
The overall budget of the project is not being reduced. In fact, it's being escalated. So we had to try to control costs in other areas to keep it towards the amount that the board had approved and we had originally planned for.
Have we used this company before?
We have not, from my understanding, but they're recommended, and in fact, they are a company that works closely with AstroTurf as far as the company who does the installation, procurement, of all of that. So they did come recommended. Our bond department did vet them, and they had good, from my understanding, they had good recommendations.
Okay. Great. All right. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
I'm so sorry. I'm just curious on how will it be a baseball and a football field? I'm just curious on how the vision looks.
We do have, I don't think there's any diagrams attached to this, but we do have them on the website. And it takes a lot of engineering to make that happen, but with the space, they designed it in such a way where part of it will be modular. There'll have to be some fencing and things that are moved depending on what sport. But it's designed in such a way where it can accommodate with lines, because it's turf, so there are markings and lines for various different sports. And then it's designed in such a way where there is an infield and an outfield that kind of goes into the area where you would have football and soccer.
Great. Any other questions? Don't feel sorry for questions. Those are always all good questions, so that's good that you ask. Any other, how about in the people in attendance here? Questions, comments? All right, seeing nobody come forward on Zoom. No hands raised. Bring it then back to the board for a motion. A motion by Trustee Porter, seconded by Dr. Whitmire. Last chance for questions or comments. All right, seeing none, bring it back to the board for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Altmeyer. All right, moving on to 9C, discuss and approve agreement with One Starfish for MPUSD safe parking program, no costs to the district. Dr. Diffenbaugh.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. This is coming back to the board after a long process. We initially brought the idea forward as an information item in September of 2022, and then came back with more information in December of 2022. Then again in May 2023 to address further questions. The site needed a permit from the city of Seaside, and so One Starfish, who's the partner, went through that process and was approved by the city in a recent meeting. And so now it's coming back to you as a board for the final step. Should it be approved tonight, then we would be able to move into next steps in terms of actually starting the program. As you know from past discussions, this is not a open lot for anyone to just come and park whenever they want. This is a program that serves specific families within MPUSD that they have to register and abide by the hours of operation work with One Starfish to secure, hopefully, more secure housing. So we're eager to begin this as a pilot. Our liaisons have identified around 23 families that are currently unhoused, meaning that we believe they could benefit from a safe parking program such as this. And we'd like to begin the process. So we do have Dorian on the Zoom from One Starfish, who would be happy to answer questions from his program if there's questions, and we're happy to answer questions from the district side. But this has been a long process to get here. I think we've thoroughly tried to develop something that we think is workable. We've engaged the community, both at the city level as well as the site level, and I think we're anxious to get started to support our families.
Great. Any questions or comments from the board? Please.
I just want to thank the community for supporting this. I know Dorian and your team with the program. I want to shout out to the city of Seaside for supporting this. I'm actually, I shouldn't be, but I'm startled to hear that we already have identified potentially 23 families. And my heart both breaks and is overwhelmed with just the wonderful work that we've done here to bring this forward. I know it's been a long process, and I wish we could have all been able to snap our fingers and make it happen, but I'm so excited to see this, and I can't wait to support more, whatever we can do. So thank you, and thank you.
Trustee Whitmer.
Thank you. I guess I'll add to the chorus of support for this just very briefly, and gratitude to Dorian for his advocacy on this. If it was just a safe place to park, I would be supporting it, but I'm also so happy that it goes above and beyond, that there is financial support for families to get rental assistance, to get repairs for their car, you know, multiple levels of support to get them back on their feet, insurance for their car, rental deposits. I mean, this is really a program that is lifting up our MPUSD families who are in a really tough spot. And so I'm just, this is just such a highlight of the work that we do and an example of the work we can do as a district to lift up our families. And I can't support it anymore. It's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Great. Any other? Trustee Porter.
How will we monitor these parking lots?
There's a set time where families who have registered to be part of the program have to come in by, and then there's a set time what they have to leave by. We do have some security on site for some of that time. It's not 24-hour security, but there will be for some of that time. And then there's kind of on-call support through One Starfish should an emergency arise or something to be able to give support. We're very fortunate that One Starfish is a partner who has done this before and has examples of doing this successfully where there has not been, disturbance in the community, et cetera. So we're confident we'll be able to continue that. Dorian is, Manuel is part of One Starfish, so I do want to give him an opportunity if we can unmute Dorian. If there's anything that I missed that you might want to add, please do so.
Hi, I was Dorian Manuel, One Starfish. Hey, I was wanting to just address the question that was asked about the security, but PK actually did a great job. We are going to have a security guard on site during check-in time and check-out time, as well as random checks throughout the night to make sure that everyone that is there is supposed to be there, make sure everyone's safe and doing well. And we will also be on call throughout the night in the event that something happens that does not warrant a police or paramedic fire response, in which case, folks would need to call 911. But for smaller things that we're able to help with, we're going to be on call for the entire window of time that the families will be staying at the site. I did want to just say thank you real quick to everyone on the board for being so supportive of this. I was talking with Scout, the case manager for this program that's been training and just doing a stellar job so far. And we're just extremely excited at the prospect of being able to help these families get these kids school supplies and try to get them into more permanent housing and set them up for success. We're just teeming with joy over here at the prospect of this finally starting after such a long wait. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think this is a really good program, and I'm happy it's coming to MPUSD. But I was just wondering what other resources like these families will be receiving. Like, is it just going to be housing, or what else is it going to be?
So I'll let Dorian speak about the One Starfish program and some of the supports they have. For us as a district, this is part of a continuum of support that we provide for our students experiencing homelessness. So a few other things that we have is we do have a program where we have used funds we got from federal government to support a partnership with Motel 6, where we sometimes families come on a Friday afternoon, have nowhere to stay, and everything's closed in terms of shelters or other county services, and we put them up for a limited amount of time at a Motel 6 until we can get them support. So that's one example. Another is we have a program, a pilot program through partnership with a foundation that pays first and last month's rent for families that can afford and have opportunity to do a rental, but the barrier is that upfront money. And so we provide that, and we've been able to offer that to 7 families so far. And then we have a whole team that works with our families and students at the Family Resource Center, as well as through a partnership of National Center with Youth Law. We have teams that work with high school students and advocate for them, help them, support them to graduate high school and go on, pursue their college or pursue their dreams. So there's certainly more. The need is there, and we would want to do more, but those give you some examples of some of the things we have in place. And Dorian, if you want to talk a little bit about the opportunities through this program with One Starfish.
Right. So participation in this program is modeled after our existing One Starfish and Monterey County Safe Parking programs, where our case manager will be working directly with the parents in these families to help them increase their income by helping them search for job leads, fill out job applications, have a professional resume made, search for rental properties that are within their budget, apply for those. We can help with gas costs, food costs, school supplies, car repairs, insurance, registration, medical costs, access to medical services through helping folks get on Medi-Cal or appropriate alternative healthcare coverage, just so they're not having something like that potentially hanging over their heads, where a single bad happening in health could just drive them back out of housing if they do get housed. We want to create a system where these families are more financially stable and are set up to succeed in getting into places and staying into traditional housing. And whatever we're able to do to help achieve that, we're happy to do it. If it's outside of our grasp, we plan to connect them with people who can help them in any way that they need that we're not able to provide.
Great. I do have a question. As to how are we getting this information out to our families in our district? We know about it, but not sure how much is getting out to our families.
Sure. So the good news is, the bad news is we have a lot of students experiencing homelessness. The good news is we know, but by and large, who those students are. And there's some districts who say, well, we don't have any students experiencing homelessness. I would say, I think you do, you just don't, haven't counted them, or you don't know. Our liaisons will be the point of contact to help with the ones that we know. And then we'll obviously work with partners, whether it's the Salvation Army, whether it's the county, or other, whether it's Noche Buena, or other community human services, who then can help spread the word. Because this isn't going to be a put it out on Parent Square and get a bunch of responses. This is really going to be needing to know the families, and really that's based on relationships in the community. So we will leverage our community partners as well.
Great. Thank you. All right. Any other comments, questions from the board? All right, I bring it out to Zoom. Ms. Lobo, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I'm excited to have this program, and a long time coming. I do have a couple of concerns with regards to the Spanish services that are not on site. So during the check-in times, or during the times that the residents will have that number for security, is that individual bilingual in the event that those residents are bilingual and they need assistance? Also, there is a 30-day permit that each resident has to have. In the event that they're unable to renew that 30-day permit, how long will they have in order to comply? Because that is one of the areas where it could be grounds for terminations and not be able to stay there. Also, what are we doing with the inclement weather that's coming in? As we know that when degrees hit under 40, it is an inclement weather across Monterey County, and there is vouchers. Are we going to be providing those vouchers to those 20 families that are in need? Is that cap also going to be expanded? I know that we have more than 20 families, and that this is a pilot program, but do we foresee expanding that in the future? Because during the city council meeting, it was highly expressed, and there was some suggestion that if we didn't have enough, or if there was families outside of MPUSD that could be referred in, if that would be a possibility for the city of Seaside, since it is happening in the city of Seaside in that municipality. Also, with regards to infractions, with regards to coverage, insurance coverage during the site, you mentioned that in number 11, it states parking lot owner is not liable for damages, but you also are utilizing funds in section 2 where it says that you're providing insurance coverage for the site, employee vehicles, as well as workers' comp. So in the event something were to happen to that vehicle, the property has insurance, but you're requiring that individual to have additional insurance other than vehicle insurance. It also states that you will be providing resources that encompass wraparound services. So I understand this program will be on a referral basis because we don't want to advertise it, and because we have minimal spots. Will there be a wait list created, and who will have priority to that wait list? I had one more. Oh, can you walk us through the application process if someone does not have the requirements as far as updated plates, insurance, or even a driver's license?
Dorian, could you maybe just, I know there's a lot of questions in there, but maybe just start at the end around walking through the process of how someone qualifies and is able to access the safe parking program?
Sure. So the last question about the getting up to code with driver's license, registration, all that good stuff. That stuff is gauged during the intake interview at the initial point of contact, where we figure out if folks have all of these things. If they simply don't have a driver's license, registration, insurance, any of those things because of financial barricades, then we're able to help them get up to code so they're able to join the program. All it would have to take is them making the appointments to, get the necessary paperwork in order for us to go into the DMV and like pay these fees for them. But those aren't hard and fast barriers. These are just things that we need in order for it to be running legally. And we are fully intending on making sure that these folks aren't like gate kept from this program because of like financial difficulties in securing these things. Because whenever you're a family living in a car, I'm sure there are more important things that pop up sometimes, especially with random happenstance and certain situations you fall into in poverty where you can't make all of your bills. So we fully intend to provide financial assistance for these things. For bilingual assistance, it will definitely be available to folks. She was cutting out a little bit on my end during the insurance time. We just are required to have liability insurance, because if we don't, then if something goes wrong, even if someone signs a waiver, they could try to sue us. So we need to use a small part of the budget in order to cover the insurance coverage for a program like this. It's homeless services, which fall under a certain category as far as insurance companies are concerned. And unfortunately, that comes with a slightly inflated rate just due to the nature of our work.
I'll just jump in real quick. So in terms of being a pilot and based on the need, and I think we'll certainly ensure that we can run this successfully, that it's meeting the needs of our families. If it's more families in need than spots, and we're able to run the programs well, then we'll certainly come back to the board with some proposals or thoughts about how do we expand this to meet more families' needs. So I think this is the first time we've done this,
Right.
so we wanted to start somewhat small and make sure that we could do it well. And then if the need is there, we'll certainly look to expand. The hope is that we can transition folks out of living in their cars into more stable housing so that the need would go away. But as I know this is a systemic problem within our community, and so there aren't enough beds for individuals in search of beds right now. But in terms of our commitment, we'll certainly bring back to the board proposals to meet the needs of our families.
Right, and I want to add on to that on top of the MPUSD Safe Parking Program, we will still also have the Monterey County Safe Parking Program, where if we are not able to fit a family into the MPUSD location, we could still get them into the program and accessing resources, but parking at another one of our locations if we're over the cap of folks looking to access these services. That way they're still going to have somewhere safe to stay where they won't have cops knocking on their window at 3 a.m. They're still going to have access to all of the help that we've discussed already. They will get bumped to the top of the wait list for the Monterey County Safe Parking Program. We don't want any children just waiting, twiddling their thumbs to get a spot. That won't be how we're running this. That's been something that I've had in place for some time now, where whenever a family calls and they have children, they're a priority in our existing programs. I think that's how you have to do it, in my opinion. And that's our plan. Let's see, were there any other questions you could remember, PK? I'm blanking.
No, I think we covered most. And Ms. Lobo, if we did not, please reach out via email, and I'll do our best to get you the responses.
All right, Mr. Manuel, I appreciate, and yeah, we know there is a need, and so what you're doing is a service to our students and our families. We'd like to see this program. Actually, we don't want to see it grow, I guess, but what it is, it's a program that is out there for our families and resources, and,
Right.
and it gets the community involved, and we all can do something to help. So, thank you so much
Right.
that you do for us, Trustee Velasquez.
I just have a question, and it doesn't have to be answered tonight, because it might require research, but I wanted to know if there was any, well, basically if the program checked with the city regarding any possible impacts when it comes next November in regards to elections, because that is an election site. So have we implemented anything to make sure that, just in case the voting times overlap with the families arriving, maybe talking with the city regarding having the parking on the street? Because normally when you go there to vote, you park in that parking lot. But if we're going to have that set aside for the families coming in, maybe just being proactive and kind of working that out ahead of time, because that is a voting site.
Okay.
Yeah, we can definitely work on that. I think there's, I think with logistically, I think we can work it out where it won't interfere with the specific places where they're parking, and we may have to just create some parking that day in the other lot.
All right, thank you very much. All right,
I'll move approval.
Okay.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Bring it then back to the board for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Manuel. Look forward to seeing this up and running. All right, moving on to agenda item 10. Discuss and provide direction on board meeting locations. Dr. Diffenbach.
Yes, thank you. So this is coming back at board request, and it's been requested a few times, so wanted to make sure we brought it back for direction. This is just an information item tonight, so we're not asking for any approval, but in terms of moving the board meetings out into the community, and just wanting to hear from the board, kind of frequency, that type of thing. We also want to be able to just communicate some of the logistical challenges around it, that just to be aware of, so that there's trade-offs to it, where it may increase access for some, but potentially be harder in some aspects around technology, sound system, video, camera, etc. So wanted to just get direction, be able to share, some of the concerns, staff has, or I don't know if it's concerns, but some of the facts that we want to be able to share, and then, get direction and come back with a more substantive plan, perhaps around the calendar that we approve yearly during the organizational meeting, having some of those highlighted as, okay, these would be in the community type board meetings.
Trustee Miramontes.
Thank you. I'd be happy to kick off the conversation, since it's something I was really hoping to bring to the board and continue advocating for. A couple of questions and then just some content as well. Within our district and our school sites, such we have Monterey High and theater, is there an AMP system set up there? I'm thinking of other locations where people have been able to zoom in and see a performance and stuff like that. And then also considering maybe we can pilot and try, I personally would encourage trying something seasonal, so 4 times a year or quarterly. And if not, that's kind of my minimum, but also for conversation around that. And in regards to seeing how that might impact with like AMP and having, you know, maybe limited accessibility through Zoom or online, I think that we're a very capable district that can meet the challenge and make that happen. And if not, I would assume there would be an offset to that, which is, or if we're in the community, we may actually see more community that's on Zoom there in person. So really advocating for that as well and seeing what that is. But I guess my main question is there sites that we currently have from our schools that would allow us to do this for the community to be able to be closer to be a part of the board meetings? And then also, I really like the suggestion from last meeting in regards to checking in with other councils or cities or boards that already have things set up and would allow us to use our space when it's not occupied. I think that's a great idea. But those are some of my suggestions and comments. May have more later, but thank you.
So I'll let Ryan talk a little bit about just kind of the setup around audio and visual, but I think it's possible, and there's some locations that are probably a little bit better than others.
Yeah. Thank you. So I think anything is possible. I think there's challenges when it comes to the setup that we have here is in the mobile setup, and it's designed in such a way where it's supposed to be consistent and it works every single time, although we had some bugs in the beginning, but it's a new system. And then we have adequate internet connectivity here, which allows us to broadcast not only to AMP, but also I think this evening we're also doing it for the first time to the district's YouTube channel, so providing more access for people in that way. And so we have, like I said, we have AMP, we have Zoom, and then we have it also going as a live feed to the district's YouTube channel. Some of the challenges, if we took that off-site, that we'd have to consider would be, do we have the proper equipment? So it wouldn't only just be what the audio system we would need in that room, but then the capability with the cameras, adequate bandwidth so that we can broadcast back to Zoom, YouTube. AMP, I think there probably are locations, and we may be able to do some remote setup, but once again, we'd have to work with them. But I think that, like I said, the primary challenge is doing it in such a way where we don't lose access to members, because like I said, we do have multiple ways where they can participate now. Those are some, like I said, the primary challenges that we would have to consider if we did move it off-site. With that being said, there will probably also need to be some equipment investment that we'd have to think about, and what that might look like, and how we would want that to look if we are doing it here, where we have everything set up the way that it is.
Trustee Velasquez?
Yes, I wanted, because I know we discussed at the last meeting, have we researched the council chambers for the different cities to see if we could possibly use those? Because I believe most of them are set up, are AMP set up, so that could be a possibility. And then they, of course, have the room for the public to also show up.
Yeah, we haven't, because I think at least originally it was, the desire was to look at school sites, but we do have MOUs with each of our cities that allow us to use their facilities for free if they're not using it. So we'd have to, kind of coordinate with their schedule to make sure they don't have a commission meeting or something like that. But I do think that would be an option. I know I'm not sure if all are on AMP, so I'd have to make sure, research that, but all obviously have setups with the microphones and, cameras and different things.
Trustee here.
Thank you. I'm just curious. It sounds like the base system here is, we know it works, it's set up, but I know when folks can't meet here, there's a process for notifying the public that there's another location that they can participate in that meeting. In fact, I remember we were in Rome, and John, my partner, who was a council member for the city of Seaside, posted on the door that anyone could come in our hotel room to participate in the meeting. So I'm wondering if maybe if there are sites that don't necessarily have the capacity to set everything up, that maybe maybe not a quorum, or there could be members of our board that participate from a separate location, to invite the public from that area to participate. That way we know the function is actually making sure that it's being broadcast and everything, but we could support communities that way. I don't know, just a thought.
Good. Any other comments? Trustee Mermontes?
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate everything as well. And in the regards to like investing in equipment, to me, I don't see why not, and I would encourage that. I'm very open to options and would love to see how that happens too with our other councils and commissions and stuff like that. But just really urging and having us really think outside the box of like meeting our community where they're at. Just like our elder program is trying to step up and go into the spaces of our community to retain and create our teachers. I think we can do the same thing, and we should. So I'm really hoping to see how this can happen at least 4 times a year. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Whitmer.
Thank you. I really like Jessica's idea of maybe trying to do satellite locations. I think that's maybe a good compromise pending looking into other options. I'm interested in sort of polling the board about willingness to sacrifice a Zoom component if we need to for 4 meetings a year to enable us to get out into the community, because we used to have board meetings before there was Zoom, and Zoom has definitely it provides access in a way that we never could offer access before. But is there any balance in sort of should we consider the possibility of having meetings where there isn't a Zoom option if it is a big enough barrier to getting us out in the community? I just wonder where the rest of you might be on that.
I think that's the unknown question, right? We're not sure how much participation, and it may take a couple of years of doing this consistently where we get the community knows that that is a location that once a year it's available. So I'm happy to kind of I agree. I think getting out into our communities is really important, and if this is a way that we can connect with them, I'd love to set up at the Ms. Rucker's room at Seaside High, maybe at Monterey High, and I think we could probably manage that more quarterly. I do understand the logistics of doing it at a different site, and I know that I believe council meetings for Seaside are usually Tuesdays. I don't know if they're the same Tuesdays as ours. Del Rey Oaks is the same way. Monterey's are too, and so is Marina. So maybe not necessarily, so it may logistically be complicated to kind of line up. And if they need to call urgent meetings, then do we get booted? So those are some concerns I have. But I love this idea and I want to support it. So trying.
Yeah, I think, sorry.
No, go ahead, Dr. Diffenbaugh.
I was just going to say, I do think we've done Zoom meetings and tried to do it, and I think as long as there's an understanding from the board that there may be some technical, when we're trying to do a hybrid option, I think that we can work through it and try to do our best. It may not have the setup like it is here, but it can still function. I wonder if while the other city council members chambers are maybe more set up, if that might still represent to some folks a barrier to enter a more formal setting, whereas coming to your school site that you have gone to and come frequently, if that might feel more comfortable for some of the folks that we're trying to continue to bring into the meeting. So that's just a thought that I wanted to share.
Dr. Lusk.
Thank you, Mr. Uchida. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate, Dr. Diffenbaugh, your comments about the city council chambers being a site that may not be as welcoming to parents in the community. That I think the goal of going out into the community is about really bringing in parents and other members of the community in a larger degree. And so with that being said, I like the idea of going to the school sites for our meetings. And I know that years ago that was attempted, but due to some of the things that have been shared tonight, it wasn't as successful as we had hoped it would be. But the attempt was made, and we did see more parents come to the sites to participate. And so with that being said, I would like to see us go to a school site rather than the city council chambers. And I would like to see us be there in person rather than by Zoom, because the idea is to connect the bodies, the warm bodies, you know, and welcome parents and what have you. So whatever we need to do to move forward in 3 times a year, you know, in the different communities, I think would be about the most reasonable and wouldn't destroy staff's, you know. So I'd like to just see us, I'd like to move that we empower staff or give staff direction to look at being in the learning communities once a year, and specifically at a school site, and whatever the cost, we would need to invest in that, because I'm sure there would be some additional cost, and that's what I'm interested in as well. Not to see that prohibit us from moving into the communities, but just to know how much it's going to cost us. Okay, thank you.
Trustee Velasquez?
I'm just curious, do we have a policy around, say like if there's like a natural disaster or something like that where we can't use this building where we would have the board meeting? Because I'm thinking maybe looking at that might actually kind of help solve this, you know, this situation. Because if there was a situation to where we couldn't use this building, I'm sure we have a policy in regards to where we would go, if it would be the school sites or whatever, because that might be a way to figure this out.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure we have a policy on it. I think it would be, you know, finding a safe place and then doing our best to set it up. I do know that board meetings at one point were at the district office, so many years ago. You know, the Monterey High Small Theater, it would be another one that could potentially, you know, hold people. Helen Rucker Learning Center at Seaside High would, probably I think they call it the Cove at Marina High. So that would be one. So I think that's probably where we would go, is looking at space and then trying to just figure out logistics, you know, around setting it up. But you know, I do think it's possible, and if we kind of, you know which sites to go, we can then plan on, you know, where it's not a different school every time, but we're saying, okay, this school, so we're going to really set up the system to work here in this spot. Then I think probably could be more doable than kind of jumping around and having to, you know, redo things each time.
Trustee Miramontes?
I just really appreciate the conversation and thinking, as well as for us to be mindful about the content during those times. So if we are at a certain community site, maybe we can focus some of our business that we have to focus on at that community site. I'm thinking like the LCAP, and when we have open public comment on really large topics or things that we really want the community's impact on, youth truth survey results and stuff, we can maybe cater our content on our agendas to also engage and attract our communities. Thank you.
All right. Who was first?
I did want to say, I do feel like it's important to move the locations to high schools, but also as well as maybe like a middle school. I do feel like we don't really hear a lot of middle school voices, but I feel like having it at maybe Marina High, because I feel like that's the furthest distance from the board meeting, or Monterey, because like it's the furthest, and maybe those students or parents don't want to travel this far, and yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, I think Zoom is like a great tool to, you know, reach out to people that can't make it to the board meetings. But I also feel like moving them would be like a really good idea to different locations, because a lot of the feedback I receive when I tell people about the board meetings is, you know, like they have stuff to do, so they can't make it to the board meetings, and they can't even make it to the Zooms too. So I think we should definitely, maybe we should come up with like a list of possible locations that we can discuss next meeting to like figure out what would be best.
Okay, Dr. Whitmer?
Just a couple of thoughts that surfaced during our conversation. Trustee Miramontes mentioned quarterly, but I'm wondering if doing it 3 times a year makes more sense. So during this academic year, once in each learning community, and then take the summer off, maybe as a more reasonable start. And then if it's like tons of demand, we can talk about adding other locations. And then I think there's consensus building around using school locations, which I agree with. I think that's a great option. I'm wondering about impacts to staff at school sites. Dr. Diffenbach, can you give us any sense of like what kind of staffing we'd need from local school site staff to be able to host a meeting there?
Yeah, I think obviously I think the setup and breakdown would be the biggest support needed. So working with our custodial staff, who is always in high demand, would probably be the biggest. And then, you know, I think with our help with our school administrators too as well. But I think with enough notice and enough support from district office staff, we can definitely make it work. I think it would be, it also depends on how late some of the meetings go, right? Sometimes we go a little later than others. But yeah, I think that would be the biggest, would probably be custodial staff.
I can chime into that because Dr. Less was my boss at Seaside High School when I was the activities director, and became my project to make sure we had everything set up. So, and again, we will encounter, I mean, this is pretty nice way we have things, and we're accustomed to Zoom and microphones and proper amplification and sound and everything. I don't know what we'll get when we go out. Not to fault anything at any school, but it will be different when it's a portable system, and it's just, but those are the things. I think our goal, and I think we all agree that we want to be out in our communities. They deserve to be heard, and we need to get out to our communities. Someone sort of brought it up, but maybe we open it up and just say a learning community who would like to host us, and let them, because there might be an elementary school that may want to, you know, they really want to sell us and have us come to them. So to be able to look at three major, or I guess 3 are our major learning communities, correct? So again, it goes to our three meetings in a year idea. So let them have the work to try to, if they want to do it, instead of just, maybe there's an elementary school that really has a PTA or PTO that really wants to host us, and they have a program they want to, and we build into our agenda, you have time to sell your program or entertain us. If there's anything, that, but to get out to here in their communities and not coming to us. So I totally support that. Okay. Anything else? Anybody in attendance wishing to have comment? Right comment? Seeing none, I will reach out to Zoom. Any raised hands? All right, nobody on Zoom. That was no action on that, so we will move on. Agenda item 11, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Diffenbach.
Thank you very much. As you know, we are trying to highlight each school and the unique aspects of each school to make a real welcoming video for prospective students, current students, and parents. So our communication staff has been busy out there, and I wanted to present our next installment. So this is Crumpton Elementary School.
Greetings, families. My name is Alex Tanney, and I'm the proud principal at J.C. Crumpton Elementary School.
And I'm Amanda Bradley, proud assistant principal at Crumpton Elementary.
We have some awesome information about our school that we'd love to share. At J.C. Crumpton Elementary School, we create a high-quality learning environment that serves just over 500 students, which allows for individual differences in learning styles. All learners are encouraged to be self-sufficient, responsible, cooperative, and caring members of our school community. We serve students spanning transitional kindergarten through 6th grade. We are focused deeply on literacy instruction through a new curricular adoption, targeted professional development for teachers, partnerships with literacy specialists, and a variety of instructional strategies. We are creating an environment where everyone is a confident reader. MPUSD has recently invested a tremendous amount of resources in our school. The improvements include 6 new classrooms, a new administrative building, upgrades to all existing classrooms, and an expanded garden and outdoor learning space. This work could not have been accomplished without voters passing Measure I.
We have many family engagement events and activities for our parents, guardians, and students. Crumpton also offers after-school care, counseling, and enrichment activities. Be sure to look for our weekly communication in Parent Square for important and timely information, upcoming events, and more. At Crumpton, we strive to be a school that is welcoming to all students, supports learners with any needs, fosters deep partnerships with families and community, and maintains an atmosphere of mutual respect and love. Please visit our website for more information at crumpton.mpusd.net. We welcome you to visit us here at Crumpton Elementary.
So it gives you a nice
familias y la comunidad y mantenga una atmósfera de respeto mutuo y amor. Visiten nuestra página web en crumpton.mpusd.net. Los invitamos a visitarnos aquí en la escuela Crumpton Elementary.
So again, just wanted to highlight that, and we have done the majority of our schools. We still have a handful left that we are doing, going out and getting footage, and because we want to make it really personalized to that school site. So that's my report for this evening. I wanted to switch it up and show a video. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Dr. Diffenbaugh. I did notice on that video some of our new construction had lettering on there. I think that was a request that I had way back to identify buildings, and it's nice to see that. So thank you very much. All right, moving on to agenda item 12, communication from board members. Board communication is an opportunity for board members to share with public events, activities, and other communications they deem relevant to the public. It is understood that these items raised during the board communication sections are not on the adopted agenda, and therefore no further discussion will occur on any items shared by board members. All right. I always start with my right, so let's just continue starting from my right.
Surprisingly, I actually don't have a report. The only thing is I'm just looking forward to the garden event on Thursday with Blue Zone, so at the adult school. But other than that, I do not have a report.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh, I can't say anything. We'll just keep moving on to my left. All right.
Mention again, just highlighting Special Olympics in hopes to the board members if you guys all want to go. I know I've participated in all of them. I was a volunteer all 3 years of my high school career, and I feel like they're very helpful. Also, girls soccer, Battle of the Bay, for me and Miriam.
Yeah.
I think on December 5th or 5th.
I'm not
Something
sure.
like that.
It's in
I'll
December
mention-
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll mention the date at a later time, if possible, too.
Yeah. So I know that this Friday we're going to have our International Festival at Monterey High, which I'm very excited about. I reached out to Palenque Arts from a couple of board meetings ago to perform there. They haven't replied, but I reached out to them. I'm excited for that. And then also, what else? Oh, we're bringing back Clash of Classes in Monterey High School, so I'm going to be planning that, which is really fun. And, yep, that's my update.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item 13. Board requests from board members. Board requests are an opportunity for board members to request future items to be added to the agenda by the agenda setting committee, or to request information to be provided by the superintendent or designee to the board at future dates and time. It is understood that these items raised during the board request sections are not on the adopted agenda, and therefore no further discussion will occur on any item requested by board members. Requests from board members. Starting to my right again.
I would just like to ask that we bring back information as soon as possible on the board meeting locations. Just reiterate that.
Thank you. Trustee Whitmire, I have no requests. Moving over to my left.
I know that it was mentioned that we would get information about the pilot with One Starfish, but I'm wondering maybe in like the next 6 to 8 months we can get a little bit more of a robust, because I just enjoy hearing sort of what we're doing, and I know Donnie and his team is really doing a lot of really good work, and we hear about it in the newspaper, but thank you.
Thank you. Nothing.
I just wanted to make sure we discuss item J from the consent agenda for next meeting. The one we were discussing, yeah.
Thank you. I think we're all in agreement. All right, moving on then.
Can I?
Yes, Dr. Les, go ahead.
Just to clarify, I'd like to see us, more, rather than 6 months away, get an update on Starfish, just to kind of set a certain time, maybe in March, or to get an update at the board, since we're going to kick it off right away. So, just
Okay.
reiterating that.
Okay, I see agreement, and I think Dr. Diffenbaugh sees that too. All right, moving on to agenda item 14, advanced planning, future meetings. I believe our next meeting will be December 5th. All right, and then a back-to-back again following week after that, which I will not have to be at the, yes, thank you very much. All right, any other questions or discussion? Move on to agenda item 15, adjourn the meeting. Can I get a motion? A motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none, bring it back to the board for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.